Yes, 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 guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Bootcast Podcast. I'm your host, Justin. I'm with my fellow co-host, Colby. God, I still can't get that down. Colby, man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I accidentally left you in the garage for like 30 minutes only because my notifications turned off. So
it's
I
okay.
apologize.
It's okay.
I apologize,
Late
man.
start for us, but nobody else will know.
Yeah.
How's life been, man? We took a little bit of a hiatus.
We did.
You know?
We did. Things are getting too dicey, man. You know, I have 2 kids and one on the way, so it's just constant. And I just dropped them off at my mom's house, and my thoughts are coherent.
There you go.
I don't get interrupted all day long.
There you go.
Got some good sleep last night. With these little like rat scallions gone, dude. It's been awesome.
That's nice. That's nice. All right. So this is episode 13.
13.
So, per usual, favorite number 13.
I had to look this up again, just like number 12, but we're gonna have the same person.
Probably. Go for it.
Ji-Sung Park, dude.
Dude, that's literally like one of the only ones I know.
But I mean, what's cool though is I saw him at the end of his career at United. He was awesome. He was just like that. I don't want to say OG, like, you know, box to box midfielder, but he was crucial for that team. For Ferguson.
Yeah. They used to say he had the third lung just because he would just run and run and run. Yeah, dude. Ji-Sung Park. He's definitely, I think he's like a streets won't forget kind of player. You know what I mean? Like, if you really watch football and you know what's going on, like, you like, oh yeah, that dude's up there with some of the greats. But I mean, he never had the flashy, crazy goals or any moments like that. He was just a workhorse of a player.
Yeah,
and sometimes that's what you need. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why Chelsea during their run was when a player like Conte was just so invaluable because he did so, like you said, these players, these engines, they do so much running and work for you. It's just makes the teams work.
Oh yeah, I think that's why they value, like, Chelsea now values Conor Gallagher so hard. It's because that's what he is. He just runs. He just runs and runs and runs. All right, man. So let's get into this. Let's shake off the rust a little bit. I want to hear an update on 2 boots from you.
Sure.
I want to hear your continued down the line GX2 update and the AG. How are those going? Are you still massively in love with those?
I am massively in love with these. I haven't had a bad game yet in these.
God, look how dirty yours already are.
Yeah. Dude, that's some AG on FG for you. But I will say that that's, I think, what makes a boot a good boot. Most of the time when I'm playing poorly, I blame the boot. I know we've talked about this before.
Naturally.
These just fit my feet really well. So wide, so comfortable. My whole life, I've put leather boots on sort of a pedestal, and I've never I've had synthetics, you know, here and there, but I'll always phase them out for something that's primarily kangaroo leather. And this is the first boot I've had where I'm like, I love this. The one-to-one touch, like I've said, is incredible. The fit is incredible. It rained a bunch in Texas last week, and so the fields are just super sloshy still. And the grip on the ball is still great. So this might be, I mean, if it keeps going, this might be my boot of 2024. So we'll see.
Have you found anything with that boot that you don't like yet? Or is anything you're like, oh, now that I've been wearing it, it's like, oh, this is starting to bother me, or like, oh, I don't care for this as much as I thought I did.
You do have to compensate for the grip a little bit. And I'm not saying it's too much, but there are some times where I'll pass it and I'll feel like I'm still a little bit too connected to the ball. Or I think I mentioned with you and Mark on the podcast, when you're taking that first touch, when somebody passes you a ball and you kind of have to put it in the direction that you want, it almost sticks a little bit. So you have to account for that. Or a ball out of the air is going to stick a little bit more. In having primarily leather boots, I've never had any grip elements really. So it's something that I personally have had to get used to, and it makes you wonder if when I do go to something different, am I going to play worse because I'm used to the grip elements? Have you ever had that problem where you've had like a Predator that's had, I mean, obviously you've had many Predators, but you've had a Predator with raised rubber elements, you get a little bit more grip on the ball, and you go to something more flat or traditional?
No, not personally, and not to sound like conceited, like I think I'm terrible anyways.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter no matter what.
So you're just bad all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm constantly at like a level 1 But I never have felt like that yet. Or if I do feel it, I don't notice it yet. Like I haven't really gotten to wear the new Preds too much, but between like my Absolutes or my GXs or even my Tequilas, like besides like the sole plate breaking in, I don't really notice too much difference. But that's just me personally.
Right.
Like, you know,
yeah, and on these, I wonder how much it has to do with the grip knit or how much it has to do with the raise. I'm like, is it the raised elements that are giving me just a tad too much, or and I feel like I've got a lot of dirt on this now, so I feel like the grip knit maybe isn't as useful. But I mean, I even with that, that's the only real flaw is, hey, they stick to my foot a little, more
too
than
well.
I like. Yeah, a little too well. It makes me, have more control of the ball. Yeah, so it makes me wonder, and this can be a topic for now or later in the podcast, but we've talked about this previously, but were we in our age group, early 30s, maybe some people in their late 20s, were we kind of over marketed in terms of how premium and excellent and top quality kangaroo leather was?
Yes. And I think I've said this before too, but the only reason that people have kangaroo leather on such a pedestal is because Nike and Adidas and Puma, and especially like older boots, that's what they push down to you, like, oh, this premium K-leather, this premium K-leather, this premium so whenever you kind of hear that all the time, your brain naturally is going to be like, okay, yeah, exactly, like this is premium. And whether or not like the calfskin leather from Adidas, for example, is it, I don't know if it's as premium, but like so far with my icons, like it's holding up the exact same. It's broken in kind of the exact same. It feels kind of the exact same. Like I feel like that, and we've talked about this before too, but a lot of times like if I gave somebody, let's say for example, like a Predator that was made out of kangaroo leather, and I blindfold them, and so they can't see anything. All they can do is touch. I said, okay, feel this upper. And then I gave him a Predator that was made out of calfskin leather, and they touched it. And then I gave them, I don't know, ostrich, whatever hell leather you want to go with. Like, could you really tell? Because a lot of times I think people think that they can tell things more than they actually can.
Right. I would agree with that. I think that the only times I've really noticed, if you go to you'd have to have them side by side for one. You'd have to have like a pro model of a Tiempo 9 and a elite model of a Tiempo 9 and put them together, or even Montebluna next to another Legend 9. You can kind of tell slight differences in that it's a little bit softer, it's a little bit thinner. But if you put two layers of calfskin leather, if you put like an Icon next to the forefoot of a Copa Sense, like I don't know. Like
it's like, and that's what's weird too, is like sometimes that, like, for example, the Copa Pure, is the first Copa Pure kangaroo leather, or is it just?
It's calf. Yeah,
okay, the first Copa Pure.
Copa Pure.
Okay, so the first Copa Pure, technically calfskin leather is a less premium material,
right?
Or so we've been told, right? But I would say if you compare that to the Copa Sense, which had a kangaroo leather upper, I would take the Pure or the Sense.
Oh yeah.
So the Sense
definitely
may have more premium materials, but it's a shittier boot.
Right.
So it's like, I guess that's the thing that like I want to get in people's head and even the designers' heads and be like, what is really more important to you? Like the way the material something's made out of, or like the way they actually fit, feel, and perform. Because I think 99% of the time, fit, feel, perform is going to win out over the material they used.
Right, and that's something, I don't know why I had to be this far off in my life to discover this, but it's like this boot performs incredible.
Yeah.
It stretches, but it doesn't overstretch. It's exactly what I need it to be. It doesn't wear down as much as a K leather boot. I still have it, leather cream in my laundry room that I would take all my leather boots. I clean them up, put the leather cream on, let them sit out for a while, especially the MI with the Alegria leather, and it would stain it. But this, I literally, there's nothing to maintain. I could brush some mud off of this, but there's no need. I just keep going. And these are also they're dual. So I wore these today. I was out training on an AG pitch that didn't last very long because I'm old and my knees hurt. But like it kind of cleaned off the bottoms a little bit. So
Yeah.
it's low maintenance. It fits. Yes, with Nike and Adidas and Puma, you're gonna have to pay out the nose a little bit. It's almost $300, but if this boot lasts me, a pretty long time, like it's worth it.
How has the durability been with them? You've been playing with them for a couple weeks. Are you
It
having
seems
any
good. And
issues?
I played on FG and AG. There's no real separation at the toe. Sole plates held up well. And I'm assuming that because I bought these from a Nike retailer at AG, I can play on both, and they'll still give me a voucher or another pair of boots. So I think that's kind of a nice little, can wear them wherever I want, essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
But they've held up great. They really, I mean, and it helps that I didn't like the Tiempo 10 because if this was a Tiempo 10, like take away the grip elements, I probably wouldn't have tried something like the GS, or I wouldn't have probably made it one of my mainstay boots. So I'm really happy with it.
No, that's awesome. That's always
Yeah.
good to hear that when you give something a shot, you really like it. It's kind of like how it
Yeah.
was with the tequila.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, again, it's like with the Tiempo, like we've talked about on a previous episode, that the problem with the Tiempo isn't the boot, it's the name. The name of
Right,
the
it's
boot
the
is the
name.
problem. But I was thinking about it today because James, the Boot Wizard, put out of his review of it, and he talked about the name and this and that. But part of me wonders, like, especially with the Tiempo 10, like the designers being at where they were from the Tiempo 8 being over engineered,
Mm-hmm.
the Tiempo 9 being kind of under engineered.
Right.
I wonder if the designers at Nike are literally like, there's just nothing else we can do with this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like that's where a lot of brands are starting to get. And I think that besides the moral grandstanding that they do, I think a lot of them are phasing out leather just because they're like, you can't do anything else. Like you can't make it feel special enough to make people want to buy it.
And that's the thing is when they tried something extreme like the 8, where they put leather on top of the quad fit, that was so. I don't want to say it was negative from everyone, but a lot of people were like, "Why mess with it? Why not just leave it alone? And it's not supposed to feel this way." But it was like you said, it was literally something they could do to try to make it fit in with something that like this that's very responsive, that's very modern.
Mm-hmm.
And they took a shot at it. Okay, it can't win here. Back to the 9, but like you said, how do we innovate on this? Well, the answer is you can't, because on a baseline level for something like a leather boot, it essentially is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put in reinforcing elements like flywire cables, or you can try to do quad fit. I don't exactly know how they did the 9. I don't know what materials they used to keep its shape. But there's only so many ways you can reinforce a midfoot.
Yeah.
So,
and there again, I think with just leather, there's only so many ways you can make leather interesting. Like you can try to change up the stitching, you can try to have the internal cage, this or that. But it's like, think about like where synthetics were when they first started coming out versus where synthetics are now.
Yeah.
Or like even like you look at Nike, like the Superfly 4 and Magista Opera 1 to that grip knit Phantom GX2. Like you're like, whoa. And it only keeps going up. Same with the synthetics.
The synthetics are incredible now too. The comfort that I feel, and I know we're going to talk about this, but in something like the Hypo Knit, you mentioned the Tequila. The Hypo Knit that New Balance has made for the Furon and the Tequila is incredible. The comfort I get in these is honestly like a pair of slippers. This is the nicest pair of turf boots I have ever owned, and I will keep wearing these until they fall off my feet because they are so comfortable. They are. It's literally like this makes me want to get the FG version. They're so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably will end up getting the FG version. I know that through some of our friends that the Furon, what is it? The Furon 8. So it's
The
up a 7
V8,
Plus.
yeah.
The V8. The V8 is coming out pretty soon. So when that does, I'm going to try to get this in this colorway in the outdoor model.
Yeah.
Just because it's that good. New Balance is doing an incredible job, and their synthetics are just top notch.
Yeah, so speaking of New Balance and their synthetics, I saw that the 442 got a synthetic
Yes.
version.
Yes.
And now I didn't hear much about this. Footloose Boots said something about it earlier, and that's kind
Yeah.
of what sparked it. So,
Mm-hmm.
so you watched a little bit. You did some digging. What did you find out about it?
I just basically watched Josh's video, and he was talking about how, yes, there is a synthetic 442. No, it's not better than the K leather version of the 442. And the reason that the K leather version of the 442 works is because it's essentially reinforced with synthetics in the midfoot and then going back. So the only part of that boot that you really have is essentially, and they give you a lot of leather to credit to them, but it's essentially just, it's like from like this point all the way across and down. So it's not even like a little Copa pure toe. They give you a pretty good amount of it, and so that allows your forefoot to stretch and mold and be comfortable. And apparently the last on the 442 synthetic is a bit more narrow, it's a bit more rigid, so it just doesn't even really feel like the same boot. And you're not even though they're making it synthetic and they're probably cutting costs on the K leather, you still have that same sole plate. So it's like, okay, look, if I'm gonna have to mess with this super flexible sole plate where I know that the forefoot's gonna peel away from that sole plate a little bit, I'm gonna go with the K leather version. Hopefully I get them on sale and then I can just wear them until they're in the ground. So I don't know. I don't know if New Balance is feeling pressure from Nike and Adidas and Puma and saying like, oh, we might need to get on this like anti-leather hype trend. I think that it doesn't help their cause. I think it actually differentiates them that they have something that does feel premium on a cheaper version of a boot.
Yeah, no, and I think it's interesting too that the original 442 or the gold pair, the first pair that came out of the V2, those were all leather.
Yeah,
like
the midfoot was K leather.
Everything was K leather on that one, and then all the other colorways came out, and it was just the toe. The toe box area was leather, and now they've gotten rid of that, and it's a synthetic. So I'm wondering if this synthetic, because I'm wondering if this synthetic one is a one-off, or if that's going to be what they're just doing. Because we've heard rumors that the Premier is going to go synthetic. I don't see the Gloro or the Icon going synthetic, but I will be curious to see if the 442 sticks out as leather.
If the 442 goes synthetic completely, like say that's the first model in a long line of what they're actually transitioning. Say like you come out with the new Tequila, the new Furon, and then here's the 442, V2, they keep the same name, V3, whatever, it's synthetic. I think the 442 probably dies because you have two options. Because the selling point of that boot is that it fits in with another heritage line in other models, like the Icon, the Premier. So I think you essentially almost kill that boot off because you know that that's probably their least popular model. I mean, this is all my opinion. I don't actually know if this would happen, but what's your opinion on that?
No, I mean I agree. I just think I've come to realize like over time that when Nike was doing the TechCraft boots, so that they were taking their synthetic boots and trying to make them leather, it never really worked. And then now you have these other brands, and then Nike did it too. Sometimes they would make their leather Tiempos Kangolite, and it didn't really work. And now New Balance is kind of having the same issue. So I just find it interesting that all these brands are trying to do alternative versions of their boot, and they're all kind of just falling on their face. Like, right. I think that the New Balance 442 is already kind of a hard sell. Right. I think the price point is what really lures people in. Same with the Premier, same with the Gloro. It's a good way to kind of get an introduction. But I have to agree, like, if you take away that, then what's really the point of the boot? Just to save money on a boot?
That's what I'm saying. What they should do, right? What they should do is essentially just phase out the 442. And I hate that I'm saying this because I love the model. But if you take the K leather out, just focus on these two models. This and the Tequila are so incredible, and this hypo knit material that they've created. And another thing I'll say, I feel like I'm like discovering things that have been around forever. I remember having was it the Total 93 that had the lacing on the sides like this, and you have like the striking area. I haven't really worn laces. Maybe like a Turk version of the what was it, Phantom Venoms had that on the side as well.
Yeah, okay. They had a slight one.
So that's probably the last time I had laces on the side. This is awesome. I love this. This really, like, this boot is they New Balance have really hit something here. I think they just need to go full force with the Tequila and then the Furon and hope that they can get those two boots on as many pros as possible. Yeah, it's awesome.
But I think I've seen leaks of the V8, and I don't think the V8 even has the offset. I think it went back to being in the center.
Oh, bummer.
Like from what I've seen, I think the V8 is less extreme. I'll say that.
Okay.
But who knows? I just seen a leaked picture. You never really know. It could have been an early concept.
You never know if it's fake or not. Yep.
But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you because like I think that when you look at the price point of the 442, the Premier, and the Gloro, they're all kind of roughly in the same price point, especially once you start getting discounts. I would say the Premier to me is probably the worst. The Gloro's kind of not much better, and then the Premier is kind of in a league of its own. And then you have to spend more money to get to the Icon, which I think is actually better than the 442. But I think that bang for your buck, that is one of the best boots you can get. Like modern boots, you know what I mean? And so I agree, like I think if you take away the K leather, you're going to put it against other boots that are synthetic, and that's where you're going to like start having issues because like I thought it was a really good point that Noah made in one of his Copa Pure reviews, but he was saying that now that Nike has made the Tiempo synthetic, and then the Puma King is also synthetic, the Copa Pure has to basically go against products from Asics and Mizuno, and the leather on the Pure compared to those is terrible. So when you start having a higher price and you start using those kind of materials, you're going to put it with a different category. And I think if you put the 442 as a synthetic, you're going to have to like start trying to justify that versus New Balance's other boots, some of the synthetics on Adidas, probably some of the Puma models, honestly. Like, so again, I think that they have a niche with the 442, and if they're going to change it so much that niche goes away, they should just end the boot. Just end it with that.
They should. I mean, that would be because it's just a heritage boot. It's a heritage boot that doesn't have the big branding. I mean, New Balance is a big brand, but in terms of football boot market, it's not the biggest brand. So just cut that out and like I said, focus on your two main silos, and I think you can really gain ground because I think a lot of people. Obviously, a lot of people now appreciate New Balance. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to wear them.
For sure.
Obviously, like my main boot isn't the Tequila right now. It's something made by like Nike, which is probably the biggest brand out there in terms of market share. Although they are losing a lot of pros, they're resting on their laurels, and they still have majority market share in terms of what the regular consumer is going to buy. But yeah, I think rather than go synthetic, New Balance. Not that you're listening to this podcast, but just phase it out if you're planning on getting rid of kangaroo leather, because otherwise you essentially don't have the magic that makes that product.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes I think it's okay to let a boot ride off into the sunset. You know what I mean? Like, let people admire the boot, let it go out on a high, because, yeah, you want to look back fondly or, make them, I don't know, not more desirable in a sense, but just let people have fond memories and don't ruin something just to ruin it. Like, you can let things end positively.
Right.
Okay. So in other news, we're going to keep this going forward. Well, actually, hold on. Time out. Before we move on. The Furons, any issues with them since you started wearing them?
No.
Because I've heard the upper rips on some of them. I've heard people complain about that.
Are you talking about like possibly like here at the toe area?
No, like,
or higher?
I'm pointing at my screen. Like where the seam is on the laces. Like I've heard that rips right where where your knuckle is on your middle finger.
Okay, right here.
Yeah, I've heard that rips.
Okay, well, I will have to keep that one. I will not mess with it.
Okay, yeah, no, I just heard that's where it tears at the seam. Like it's just not glued very well.
Yeah, everything else is perfect. I actually did have a 442 in a turf model, and that had hardly any cushion, and so my foot hurt so bad when I played indoor. But this is perfect. It was perfect from the first game. I didn't have to break these in. I actually wore these on the spot. Brought some extras just in case, but never had to change out of them. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I could not speak more highly of these in a turf model. If you play indoor, if you can get these, pick these up on sale, get these boots. They're so good.
Do you think it's interesting that weird that they didn't make a Tequila turf model?
I do think that's weird. They may have what's the takedown?
I think Tequila. It's called like the
Magique or something like that.
Yeah,
they may have that one. It might be in an old colorway. I think it is weird, but it's kind of like we just said. Are people gonna buy one or the other? or are they just going to buy the top quality one? Because I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have gone to Tequila over this had they made the same thing. So if they can focus all of their upper materials and just put that on rubber, like I'm fine with this.
Nice.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so in the football boot world, Pogba
Yes.
has been found guilty, supposedly, of like doping. And from what I understand,
allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
No, it's definitely yeah.
Yeah, he got in trouble. And from the little bits of research I have is he's saying like, I just took what my doctors gave me. This is what they handed me. I would never take that. The courts or whatever, like, no, you're doping. And I know from what I've read too that supposedly the head medical guy that Pogba deals with is gotten in trouble before for doping and been suspected of doping players. So I think if you put 2 and 2 together, it kind of makes sense. But with his ban, Adidas kind of did a weird drop on a really weird Predator.
It also has a really weird name.
It does. What is the name?
What? Predator Generation, I believe, something like that.
Generation
Pred, which to me, that generation doesn't mean green, purplish. Look this up.
Leopard.
Real quick. Just a leopard print.
Yeah, it's a weird color. It is honestly way too out there for me, but I think it's interesting that they made a lace and a laceless. No tongue model on this one. And then this one, the bottom says Pred. It doesn't say Predator like all the other ones did.
Yeah, I mean
it's ugly.
If they put a tongue on this one, it might have been the first tongue model to not sell out.
Oh, 100%.
It would have probably been the first. Like it just would have broken that chain entirely.
But yeah, it definitely just like the leopard print. It looks like this should have been a Pogba pair. I think that.
Yeah.
With PR, he didn't play pretty much at all last season, and B, PR of all this kind of drama starting to go on. I think that Adidas pulled a quick pivot, but that pattern's been used before on his Stella McCartney ones, the vegan Preds. You know, he's worn that in his hair, so it just seems too coincidental.
It's too on the nose, yeah.
To not be, and it's a weird color, and Pogba's had a lot of weird colored boots. He tends to go more purples and pinks from what I've noticed, but yeah, this definitely looks like it could be a Pogba colorway. It should have been a Pogba colorway.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know you've talked about his doctor. I've seen a couple of weird things. One of them was that he was taking something like DHEA, which you can get off of like Amazon as a supplement if you want. I'm sure that was probably maybe something to lighten it a little bit. But in general, and I know we're talking about the boots right now, and I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent, but Pogba's only 30. You really don't start to slide on your testosterone until you're what, like, I know it's post 30, but I mean, he just hit that age, so it's kind of weird that he's, you know, trusting this doctor and getting busted with this. I mean, we got guys playing, like, Ibrahimovic played almost till he was 40, Ronaldo plays at 39, Messi's playing at 37. None of these guys, I mean, I don't know. Let me ask you this, not to get too far removed from the boots. Do you think that there should be something in the football world with these players playing longer and longer that maybe age 35 plus, you should be allowed to have some kind of like TRT, little
no,
dopey?
I don't. I mean, you'll never convince me of that. I mean, I always like joke that I do think sports are interesting when doping's like a thing.
Yeah. Like
when baseball, like when Barry Bonds, I think it was Mark McGwire, would just like knock him out of the park constantly. Like, that's really interesting.
Right.
But I mean, obviously in fairness of the sport, you don't want anybody to be doping, but I think that's, you just start going down a slippery slope, especially if you're like, oh, well, at this age, well, then somebody's like, oh, well, I'm about to be that age. Why can't I just go ahead? And then it just gets younger and younger and younger. Like, no. Like,
yeah. That would be cool to see a big research, like you just kind of suck at 33, 34, and then all of a sudden 35, 36, you're slamming him in the back of the goal.
Can you imagine that? Can you fucking imagine that? And like all the roid rage, like just on it'd be like the 90s all over again. Late
that'd be
80s.
Awesome.
But no, I mean, it's unfortunate. And again, we don't have to like get too much on Pogba, but it's unfortunate because like that's one dude that it's just like, you wasted it. Like, what a waste. And granted, like, I know he's won pretty much every trophy you can, but just what an absolute waste of talent.
Well, what were his pivotal moments? Were what, when he was super young and at Juve the first stint, and then
with Conte.
And then also again in the 2018 World Cup would probably be like his highs. So
he was crazy good in he was pretty good in 2016 Euros when they lost to Portugal. He was pretty phenomenal in that tournament. And then the 2021 Euros, even though they got eliminated, he was phenomenal. This last World Cup, I thought he was phenomenal. Wait, was he in this last World Cup?
I think he was hurt. He was hurt. Before. Yeah,
because he's been out at Juve. And he had Pogba's that guy. Like, he always makes me laugh too, because he's the guy that, like, if you just watch football through Twitter clips and TikToks, you're like, oh my god, like, there's nobody better, and nobody has like some of the highlight reels that guy does.
Right,
but like that's all he was. Like, he was never a guy that's like, let me put the team on my back. Most of the time he wasn't. He had a few games here and there. But like 9 times out of 10, he just wasn't that guy.
Right.
And that's what everybody wanted him to be, and he just wasn't.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to me because I feel like Pogba was so much... Here's kind of something that I like that has sort of rebounded, and let's call it the Neymar era, right? From 2012 maybe to, let's say, like 2018, 2019. You've got Neymar, who's incredibly hyped, and he does do a great job in Barcelona in 2015. Paul Pogba, who is incredibly hyped. You get so much mass marketing. You've got your own signature boots that kind of bleeds into personalities that hadn't really made it yet, like Jadon Sancho, like other people coming up. And now I feel like we're kind of rubber banding away from like the mega hype to these new talents like Jude Bellingham, or like maybe, like you could throw Erling Haaland in there, where it's like, hey, I'm just gonna be kind of like Messi. I'm gonna let my football do the talking. I'm gonna perform on the pitch, and then, I mean, we don't really know how Jude's personality is gonna develop yet. Haaland seems to be pretty chill for the most part. So I feel like Pogba was just in this weird little, era where it's like overhyped, like you said, kind of highlights clips player. What do you think of that?
No, yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that, like, if you look at like some of the big name players, like again, it's like you said, it was all about, let me just show you what I do on the pitch. That'll speak for itself.
Right.
And then I think when you start kind of getting into the early 2000s, and especially with Bex coming through, it was kind of like, this kid works super hard on the pitch, but like, man, he's a pretty boy. He's really nice to look at. And I think I always say that Bex walked so Ronaldo could run. But then when Ronaldo came through, it was kind of like shooting it into the stratosphere. And then on the other end, you had Messi, who's shooting in the stratosphere based on freakish talent, right? So you have these two aliens in the football world, and so these both brands, big brands, are like, they each have one guy, and they're like, we're gonna market the hell out of these dudes. These are gonna be the guys. It's gonna be the faces, everything. So they're riding on these highs, and then the brands start looking at other people like, we gotta start filling these gaps. And if you notice that basically every I would say just about every player that they've picked up until now, kind of with Jude and Erling Haaland, and maybe even Mbappe, was a star that burned super, super bright, but they burned out quick.
Oh, yeah.
Hazard. You look at, arguably Neymar. You look at Pogba. Who else?
What's Paulo Dybala, maybe?
Paulo Dybala. Ozil. Like, a lot of these players that the brands, like, tried to make their face of their, like, their company, it just massively have burned out.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a pressure thing, if it's just that generation thing. I think you start giving these guys tons and tons and tons of money and maybe less of a love for the game, and they're gonna burn out quick.
Well, and I think too that a lot of it becomes like, some of these players get moves and make certain money and this and that based on their marketability.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't always matter what they do on the pitch. Like, oh, if we can sell jerseys, that's what's most important.
Right.
And that's why I think that a lot of those brands had those guys and they had those big money moves and this and that. But I mean, that only lasts for so long. Like when you have players like Pogba and Neymar who are immensely talented and are selling tons of jerseys, but they literally can't even get on the field. What's the point?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because Neymar, obviously he's with Puma now, but he just had this Puma Neymar. It was a white boot Future 7 Ultimate that I saw. It was probably photoshopped of him holding up the cleats like this, and I was like, dude, that guy's not even gonna see the pitch for another 2 months. And they're marketing his boots that he probably won't even wear because they're gonna have two silos later when he's actually, two colorways later when he's back on the pitch.
Yeah, that's exactly how Pogba's been. There'd be like times where like Pogba would have a boot. He may wear it one game, but he's injured the whole run, or he got injured before and then he didn't like his the blue and these ones.
Yeah,
I think he got spotted in training and came on as a sub. I think at late in a game, and I think that's all that they ever.
Yeah.
Or on pitch, like this colorway,
because I know well enough that you're like magneted to Pogba, but you love that colorway, the accuracy there.
Yeah, dude, I like that boot, and I'm not a big blue boot guy, but I did like that pair, and so it's unfortunate because it's like when you see a player that you like, and you literally just kind of watch them become washed up and throw it away. It sucks. It sucks. Yeah. That's kind of like where that's why I defend players that probably don't need defending. Like, I see what's going on with Sancho, stuff like that. And you're just like, dude, it's just so frustrating. Cause you look at like my favorite player is Cristiano Ronaldo, who's like this ultimate professional. And then you look at these guys and you're like, just be a little professional, just a little bit more professional.
What's funny is those guys, like you mentioned Sancho, he just straight up stopped caring. I remember being young and watching Fernando Torres kind of flame out after his move to Chelsea, and I remember thinking like, oh god, is Nike gonna keep sponsoring him? Like, wouldn't that be the worst if he just sucks and like they drop him and he can't wear total 90s anymore because he's playing so bad.
Yeah, it's just like it's just wild. And you see some brands do things like that, but for the most part, like it with these players and these brands, like it's a gamble. Like so many of these players are gambles. Like some of them may hit and they may be your guy, and then other ones may do literally nothing.
Right.
So, but anyways, back to the Pred. Let's reel it back.
Yes. Sorry.
Let's talk about this ugly Pred.
Yeah.
I think that Adidas is already having a hard time with the Pred selling the regular tongue lace model and the laceless, and I feel like these are going to be in outlets. Sooner rather than later. This pair is going to be massively discounted and massively in outlets. Like I haven't, out of our whole friend group, I don't think anyone, maybe Tom, I think like them.
What's weird is I don't want to say every colorway previous to this one has been straight laced, but there hasn't been I don't even know what you call it, like a throw up colorway really until now. It's like fine, blah.
And it's like everything is wrong. And then we've seen the other leaks, like the Yamamoto ones are on their way, the white and black. And then I personally really like that gunmetal dark blue pair that's on its way. Yep. And then I've seen the Japan blue ones that are coming, and I like those too. Yeah. So it's just like what is that? Almost 10 colorways. Yeah. And like one pair is just, and I mean, it's not like, I don't really like it. It's this is bad.
It's in outer space, man. It's by itself. It's on an island. I don't know. Maybe they just had to stop the hype for a minute just to give them a breather. I don't know. I mean, obviously not. They make colorways way in advance.
But it's just too much. Like it's too much going on in the boot, and I just don't get why these brands want to throw in like a third and fourth color all the time. Like so many of the Preds have been good because they're like it's very relatively simple. But like they just threw in the bits of pink and the bits of yellow on top of the electric green and navy. It's just like, oh god.
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where I'm just like, I don't know. Like I want to meet the designer who saw that and was like, yeah, this is it.
Yes.
Like, this is the boot.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, it's not.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. That used to be one of my problems with boots that were coming out. 18, 19, 20 had a lot of those types of boots. And now I feel, again, we're talking about rebounding. I think we're rebounding into more structured, normal colorway. I don't want to show my GX2s over and over and over again on every podcast, but like a color like this.
It's so clean.
It's so clean. It's so normal. It reminds me of having just a, 1-2 colors back in the day, back in the early 2000s. So.
Yeah, and it's just like it's just like even like the color combinations that they pick. They're just very. I don't get it. Like I don't get how any of those colors go together.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to look if I have any boots that are just like too out there, and I don't think I have.
We get into these trends. Like if you look at, I see the LZ behind you. Those like pink and white and black. That was a trend for a few years. I remember the what was it, the GT1 or 2. One of the launch colorways was pink and black, and then
both of them.
Yeah. So
this is a David Beckham thing now. I've noticed that. I think all of the David Beckham ones,
Inter Miami type.
Yeah, because like the precisions we have are the white, black, and pink. This is white, black, and pink. The edge is white, black, and pink.
Yeah. Speaking of your precision turfs, you are going to join a indoor team soon. Don't say location or team name, but.
It's still dad bods. I'm pretty sure it's dad bods, but I think I'm gonna try to rock these. Like I've been trying to find a second pair because you know how I am about that. But I think part of me was tempted to try the new Predator turf model, but I think I'm just gonna wear these because I've worn these in outdoor and I absolutely love them.
I will warn you on the turf. I mean, this could be my foot versus you foot, but my heel was a sliding in those, my friend. It was even the last lace hole, and I know. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Your anatomy doesn't allow you to see that last lace hole.
Nope.
But it is there, in fact.
No, I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll see. Worst case, I have some Predator Freaks and some Mercurials that I can always use.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I don't know. I just like I tried the Predator Elite turfs on, and this is something I think is interesting too. Is they call it the Predator Elite, but it's the Predator Pro outdoor model, and I don't know why they've done that. Because like with my Freak and my Precisions right there, it's just a 1-to-1 upper, just a different bottom.
Right.
So I really am curious as to why they didn't use the same Predator Elite outdoor upper on the turf model.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. And at least if Nike's doing it, they'll call it Pro Turf.
Yeah,
so
for
you
sure.
know which one you're getting. And New Balance is just a freaking baller for
that Pro
1-to-1. Thank you. God bless y'all.
I think even Puma has gone down to the Pro model as their turf.
Yeah, I think for a minute I don't have them up here, but I was wondering if the upper to the Futures was the same as the outdoor, and it is slightly different.
It's slightly different.
Not,
see. So it's just like, I mean, it is what it is. Only a Nike and Adidas were doing it for a little bit, but like I've been looking at the GX2 turf model, the Pro Turf, and it's basically, from what I can tell, it's a GT3. So I might end up trying those on and trying them out. I don't know for sure, but we'll see. So I'm going to be doing outdoor and indoor. My wife's going to be pissed because I'm gone all the time, and my legs are going to be pissed and dead, but I'm going to try it.
Welcome to you'll be tired too. That's the one thing.
I'm always
That's
tired,
the one thing
bro.
Nobody accounts for indoors. How late those effing games are, dude. When you freaking show up at 10 p.m. to play, your body won't allow you to go to sleep until 3 a.m.
I will skip those games. I've already said it. I'm not playing that late. I'm not getting home at 1 to turn around and get up for work at 6.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But I'm really curious to see how these Predators go. And now that I think about it, I wonder if the reason they didn't do a tongue model on this one is because the Yamamoto ones or those dark blue ones will only be a tongue model. So maybe that's kind of why they skipped it.
Yeah, that's a good.
Adidas, I'm sure, saving costs and whatever, trying to build hype. But those Generation Preds are awful. If you like them, please let me know in the comments because I want to know why you like them because so far nobody has liked them. Let's see what else. What else have we got going on?
I don't know, man. Not much has actually happened. Like, I was looking for news stories. Like the Pogba thing was kind of big, but I mean, really, not a lot has happened. Not
Yeah, dude.
I know. Well, something did just drop. Our friend James at Boot Wizard did get his hands on a what is it, F50?
The unreleased F50s.
Yeah, the unreleased
Yes.
F50, and it's not what they call it. It's not the first colorway. It's like a
I think it's like a teaser camouflage model.
yeah, I was gonna say camouflage, but did you watch? Did you get to watch all of it before you
I haven't
started?
finished it yet. No, I'm pretty much through most of it. That boot definitely has me intrigued.
Right.
Definitely has me intrigued.
Yeah, I want to know why. I knew you probably did make it past this part, but the tongue on it. It is a U-throat tongue, but it's weird and unique in that it has almost like a tunnel to it.
Yeah.
So I know people constantly complain on, I don't know if your icons do this with their U-throat, but it just kind of, I just push mine over to the I push it over to the side and I don't mess with it. And that's something that does bother me, and it does make me prefer like more of a knit, just so I don't have to even think about my tongue being there at all.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I don't mind the tunnel thing. I don't know if I have a boot that has a tongue tunnel, but oh wait, hold on. Shit,
Just broke it.
oh no. Well, I mean, this isn't what I thought it was. I guess the closest one we have to like a knit tongue is what, our Tiempos, our MIs. That might be our closest one, but I don't mind that kind of construction because, again, yeah, like most people, if you don't have a fold over tongue and you have that U-throat tongue, it always slides.
Always does, yeah.
So I mean, and the F50s were notorious for it. So it will be interesting to see with that, and even with his video, it looks more like that could be like their plus model, you know, like the higher end one. So
right, which is what they've done with the X Crazy Fast, is they made their U-throat tongue and it made it super. And what's cool about Adidas, and we had a whole podcast topic. It wasn't really a topic; it was more of a tangent on SL boots and custom. Like it's almost like that, like you said, is becoming their top model now.
Yeah, having a super light boot, which I think is super cool. Like, if that's what you're gonna do, like, go for it. You know, go all in.
Right.
But yeah, that boot, I think it's crazy that they've built so much hype on the return. I would say the true return of a Predator. Like, this feels the most like an absolute Predator. And now they're bringing back the F50, which the X basically always was an F50.
Right.
But they bring back the name. So I'm curious to see if they won't bring back the Nitro Charge, obviously. And then what was their other line? The 11 Pro. I don't think they'll do anything with that.
No, they're not going to mess with that.
But Adidas definitely is, with the remakes and now this, they've definitely been doing the nostalgia thing, especially with some of these Predator colorways that I've seen coming out, like the gunmetal navy blue one. And then I've seen the Japan blue, which obviously goes back to the Japan blue mania. And then, so it'll be interesting to see if they do some other really classic ones, like if they do like an all red pair, like an actual red pair, or whatever. But they've definitely figured out how to do these, the remake where people really want them, and they've also capitalized on the like nostalgia modern remake. You know what I mean?
Right,
Modern inspired. So I think Adidas is starting to knock them out of the park, and I wouldn't be surprised if people really start gravitating to them.
Yeah, nostalgia. That's, and we talked about in the last podcast how even with their Copa line, they have a really good thing going with the Copa Pure 2, but they're gonna label that model now. What was it? The Copa Mundial. I don't even know. I don't know how they're going to label that, but it's going to be a version where they pull that Copa Mundial name back into their primary line of Copa boots.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's interesting too, because I have the two colors of the Copa Icon, and my white and black ones are called the Copa Icon, but those white and gold ones I showed you, they're called the Copa Mundial .1.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's the only one that I've seen called that. So it will be interesting to see what they call these new boots and how these new Copas and how they kind of pull them in and what they'll because I don't know what they're going to be similar to, if they're going to be closer to the 11 Pros or if they're going to be closer to like an actual Copa Icon Mundial.
I think the only thing I really want from a new pair of Copa boots is just a different sole plate. I just
you don't like the Nemesis sole plates? I thought you did.
I do. It's really it's incredibly rigid, and I prefer that because even like these are starting to get like kind of on me. But they've used it for 2 generations now, so I just like a change in general. It's not that I don't like the Nemesis, but
just change for
different.
change.
Yeah. Well, even on the what James was reviewing, I don't know if you've made it this far on it. It's more of a preview, but they call it there was a sprint frame and then the speed frame, and now they're doing the sprint frame 360. So it will be kind of interesting to see if it's just slightly different shapes to studs, and it's essentially the sprint frame, but I don't know. It's maybe something like that for the Copa would be fine.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Like you said, like because there was a time I don't know if you were doing the boots or if you were out and
I was in school.
But when around the 2014 F50, they all had that same sole plate. They all had that same sprint or like a slight tweak of the sprint frame.
Right.
But like the Predator, the LZ and LZ2 had it. The F50 had it. The Nitro Charge, I think at one point had one. The 11 Pro did not. The 11 Pro had its own thing, but when they did the SL model or the Crazy Light models, they all went back to that same sole plate, and it works. So sometimes that's the hard thing. Like I know you say you want change for the sake of change, but sometimes it's like if something's good and it works,
yes.
why change it? You know what I mean?
Why change it?
Why change for the sake of change?
Right.
Yeah, we'll see.
Good point, brother.
But on that note, I think we'll call it a night, man.
Yeah. It was good to get back into the saddle after skipping a week.
Well, we'll be off this week. Check out the Instagram at BootcastPod. I'm gonna post a video, and it will be our topic that we're gonna go into next week. So we can get everybody interactive. You have to send me a message, but be on the lookout for that. I'll probably post it either tomorrow or Wednesday.
All right, man.
Cool.
Where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Texas Cleat Collector. I've been slacking. I haven't bought anything because I'm poor right now. I got 2 kids, so the collection's not growing too much right now, but it will. It'll be back before we know it. Where can they find you, Colby?
They can find me at Kicking It with Colbs, where I'm at this point just trying to post 1 video a year. So I've already got mine in for 2024. Congratulations,
Let's
guys!
go.
There it is. All right,
with that,
you can always
we'll say goodnight.
Goodbye, guys.
Take care.